The news just seems to get a little more grim every day out of Nigeria. Grim and, well, kind of hopeless, unless you really want to help. Scott Beebe, the Executive Director of Help Inc., joins us. Welcome in, Scott.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for joining us. Kind of give me, first of all, just a little bit of context for an American audience that all we do is see this on the news. You go over there 2 or 3 times a year to Nigeria. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. I think
Sure.
It's a very appropriate question to ask. And you always have to realize life is about perspective and being able to see things from various angles. And as it relates to Nigeria, typically in the international media, some stories are going to be dead on, and some stories you're going to get some biased interpretation of those stories. And so living in America, sometimes we are relatively limited, not necessarily in the volume of news that comes in, but maybe in the perspective of news that comes in. So when you ask what's happening over there, a lot of that stuff certainly is real in terms of the abduction of the girls. That's very real. It's all too real. What may be provided a much better context for a lot of people is understanding actually what goes on the ground to create these kind of dynamics, and also what goes on in other parts of the country, because this is a very isolated, limited part of Nigeria.
Okay. Tell us a little bit how your group is trying to mobilize professionals to help in Nigeria.
Certainly. So what we do is very simple. We're actually a faith-based non-governmental organization working in more of the southwest part of Nigeria. Much of the news you hear is out of the northeastern part, about 600 to 800 miles away from where we work.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is, just as you said, mobilize professionals to make disciples, because we are faith-based, but the way we do it is a little bit unique in that we develop sustainable partnerships and we work in domains, or what you may know as sectors or industries.
Okay.
And that sustainability means something to us. We actually define it out. So let's say that you've got a skill set, which you do, and I've got a skill set, which I do. Something that is sustainable means you and I both bring that skill set to the table. And what makes it a partnership is when I hold you accountable to your skills and you hold me accountable to mine. And then how we flesh that out is through these domains or sectors. So we work in 6 in southwest Nigeria: healthcare, education, business, agriculture, what we call social welfare, that's orphans and widows, and then finally an outreach or civil society, because Nigerians still live very much in people groups. There's more than 250 tribal peoples that make up the modern borders of Nigeria.
How different is this from, say, a faith-based version of the Peace Corps?
Oh,
same kind of thing, or
certainly.
Completely different?
Yeah, it's a little bit different in that the Peace Corps, a lot of agencies working globally are great humanitarian agencies, and in particular crisis agencies. We actually operate under a little different philosophy, is that we have taken what we call an adoptive mentality of where we work. So we stay in one place for a very long period of time. Not to degrade anything that a crisis agency is doing. You mentioned Peace Corps, Samaritan's Purse, some of these others are doing phenomenal work around the world. What we feel like we've been invited to do is stay in one place for a very long period of time.
How long a period of time?
So far we've been in this southwest portion of Nigeria for a little over a decade.
Oh, okay. You're talking a long time, absolutely.
Yeah, and we plan to stay quite a bit longer, and in the model that we operate under, actually looking to, if I spoke in business terms, it'd be kind of a franchise model. Take what we've done and model it well, and then replicate that model throughout the country in the future decades.
All right, a lot of people would say there's so much we need to do here. Why go all the way to Nigeria?
And it's a great question to ask from a sustainable perspective. In fact, I would argue that it's a must-ask type of question. Yeah. Why do we work globally and locally? And so that's another term that a mentor of mine mentioned to me. It's a term called glocal. It's actually a business term. It's merging local and global at the same time.
Okay.
From just a very direct response to your question, we follow the teachings of Jesus, and we tend to listen to parting words of famous people. And some of Jesus' parting words were, "Go make disciples and do it of all nations." It's a simultaneous invitation. And so we work in Nigeria, but we also do work here in the U.S. as well. So what we encourage professionals to do is work locally and globally. Whatever you do locally, do it globally, and vice versa. Whatever you do globally, do it locally at the same time.
Let's get a little more specific. What types of roles can people over here play over there?
This is the best question to be able to ask from a guy like you, because this is where I get excited to think about people's skill sets and how they can be mobilized. There are a couple of different types of people as it relates to the work going on the ground in Nigeria. Some will want to travel over there and be a part. So our 6 domains, as I mentioned before, one of the best examples is through our business domain. A lot of business professionals, particularly here in the Low Country. In our business domain, we seeded that domain through a microfinance program with about $37,000 US worth of capital 3 years ago. Today, if we were to close the program, we would pull out about $41,000. And oh, by the way, over the last 3 years, we've invested that initial $37,000 in 140 small businesses.
That's
so we actually have
unbelievable.
professionals here from the U.S. In fact, just this past March, I took the managing partner of a large CPA firm from Dallas, Texas, over to Nigeria. And we've also taken a couple of bankers from here in the Low Country. And what they started to do was the first ever SWOT analysis of some of these small businesses, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And in that SWOT analysis, they extract best practices. We modulate that into different training modules, and then later this year, more Western professionals will go back and actually train the best practices that came from the local, making it ultimately sustainable. So these aren't our ideas or our training, it's their training. All we did was just collate that into module training. So that's one of the most glaring ways that professionals can be a part.
All right, if this rings the bell of any of our viewers, where do they find out more information?
Certainly, there's a lot of places. So obviously our website is probably the simplest way to be able to find that out. It's helpwestafrica.org.
Okay.
And then, of course, they can call me. My phone number is 843-422-5825. And then tomorrow, we are actually hosting an online day of prayer through Facebook, and they can just simply go to our Facebook page. That's Help-Discipleship Through Domains, and we will be posting prayer opportunities every hour on the hour from 6 a.m. tomorrow to 6 p.m., specifically around those 300 abducted girls and all folks who are involved in that.
Thanks so much for your time. Scott Beebe of Help Inc. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.